Which type of relationships are you attracting into your life as an empath? And would you like to have better quality relationships in your life now? Stick about to find out more about this. So, there are several types of relationships that we can have as an empath. One type is one-sided. So, you're putting in all of the work and the effort, the energy, the time. You're always there for the other person. You're doing everything. You're carrying both of you together on your side. And they may be there for you sometimes, but you find that they don't really give you that same safe, nurturing container and space in return. Just hearing this, does anyone come to mind? Anyone that you may just think of? Oh yeah, that reminds me actually of this connection. It could be a friend, a relative, a partner, a colleague. All of these relationships, they can come under these different types of brackets. So if it's one-sided, you're putting all the work in, you're putting in all your energy, you're making all the effort, you're often maybe contacting them first or there for them whenever they have a crisis, and it's not being reciprocated. So you may find that you feel really drained and tired when you hang out with them, or it doesn't really ever evolve into something beautiful because that solid foundation can only be there if both people are really putting in the work. Second type of person is where there is an empath who sometimes is less healed, who can attract narcissists. So this used to be me, not with everybody, but a couple of certain relationships where I didn't even know what that term meant. And there's so much stuff in media about narcissists are terrible people. Actually, no, they are unhealed people who are really, really in pain. And they are unhealed to the same level as an unhealed empath. So I'm speaking from my experience as an empath who's now done a lot of healing work. When I was an unhealed empath, I used to attract some people who were like me, but to the opposite. So an unhealed empath, we will feel like we have to make all the effort and we have to be completely selfless and we have to do all of the over-explaining. And, that can fall into the first group of people, like the one-sided relationships. And the thing about being really selfless and empathic, sometimes if we don't have boundaries and self-worth and things like that, we can attract people who are unhealed to the same level, but maybe on the opposite end. So everything is a spectrum in life, in the world, in the universe. So like being an empath is not necessarily just a good thing. Sometimes as an empath, we can be enabling other people's behavior that may not be helpful or healthy. And especially if we've got our own unhealed patterns. So for instance, I used to be a people pleaser, that one-sided relationship thing. And I used to feel like I wasn't good enough for someone's validation unless I gave all of myself. And that came from my earliest memory of parental wound and trauma. So when I started to heal that, I found self-worth and self-respect in myself and boundaries, something that I had never had before in my life, like 3D and energetic boundaries. Does this feel good to me? Does this feel reciprocal? Does this feel healthy? Does this feel fair? And so in the past, when I had attracted one or two people who were on the narcissistic scale, and remember, they're not evil people. They are like the unhealed empaths, just to the opposite end of the spectrum. So the unhealed empath may be too selfless, and the person on the narcissistic spectrum will be too selfish. The one who is an unhealed empath may over-explain themselves all the time. And the one who is on the narcissist spectrum, they will feel like they have to have tall walls, not let anyone in. They certainly can't show vulnerability. They can't be honest. So these two types of people, while they're opposite, they're still attracted to each other because what they both want is the balance in between the two. So if we're an empath who has our own healing to do, like I used to be, and I've still got more healing to do, no one's ever at the top of a mountain where they're 100% healed and just floating on air in lotus position, right? But when I was more unhealed, being an unhealed empath, that's the sort of person I attracted. And then the third type of relationship we will have as an empath, and this relates to healing and knowing our self-worth and having self-love, is reciprocal relationships where we both give as much as each other. And we're not giving to receive, because that's having an agenda, which isn't helpful or healthy, but just two people who can together build a foundation of strength, and they are giving on an equal level, and they are on the same frequency. So if it's two people who feel excited by life and they have aspirations for their career, no matter what that is, or creative passions or anything like that, to be on that same wavelength and to have mutual respect and mutual care, mutual honesty, mutual loyalty. These things are the most sacred thing. If you can have a relationship like this, it's mutual. And it, like I say, it's not giving to receive, but it's knowing your worth, that you can be an empath and feel people's pain and understand what people are going through and feel it in your body and your energy. But that doesn't mean that we have to be taking on people's burdens, taking on people's pain, and allowing things that are not good for us. So I wonder if this has sparked anything in you. Like, where are you on that journey in yourself? Do you feel like you're an empath who's just attracting mutually reciprocal relationships? Or maybe some of them are one-sided. Maybe some of them are the unhealed empath narcissist dynamic. Maybe you've got a mixture. I used to have a mixture, and the more that I've gone in to focus on my own inner pain, wounds, unhelpful beliefs, trauma, all of that from the past in this life and past lives, and to start to shine a light onto that. It's like the shadow. So Jung talks about the shadow self, and it's literally like if you've got a room with a dim light and there may be some shadows. What happens if you turn the light up? You shine the light on it and the shadows disperse. You shine awareness on those things. So maybe you're attracting a certain type of person or lesson into your life over and over. And that can be trying to shine a light on something within you that's been asked to be seen and noticed and observed and given some time to reflect on. So you could journal about it, you could do some meditating to try to see what comes up, you could do some past life regression, do some EMDR if you're finding trauma comes up, a really quick and safe, holistic way to reprocess trauma from the short-term memory, emotional part of the brain into the long-term memory part of the brain where it should be. So yeah, just let me know in the comments below if anything's come to mind about any of these three types of relationship and where you are on your journey, and if it's maybe shed light on something that maybe, you know, there's certain relationship dynamics that you've been familiar with for years or even decades, and you haven't really thought about it until now. But now that this is coming up in perfect timing, whenever this has found you, it could be that there's one person or even several people, a group, whatever it is, who are actually not very good for you, and maybe draining you, one-sided. And when I started to get clear on my values, what they were, what's important to me, then it can really help me now be aware of, when I'm meeting new people, does this person, their energy and their consistent actions, is it aligned with my morals? And if it isn't, then that's okay. We're just on different frequencies, and they're not necessarily someone that I need to give a lot of time to. So maybe this can be a chance for you to just take a little stock of some of your closest relationships. And there's a quote that we are the sum of the 5 people we interact with the most. So who are those 5 people most in your life? Are they really aligned with you? Are the relationships two-sided, two-way, or are they one-sided? Or are they unhealthy and draining? So this continued self-awareness of where you are internally and what's aligned with you or not externally, this is one of the best gifts that you can give yourself today. And if you like this content, give a like or a sub, and I'll see you next time.